What's good, fam? Welcome back to the channel. This is Constant Sports, and I am your host, Constance. We're going to talk about the game last night. Obviously, you had the Battle of LA, USC going head to head with the number one team in the country, which is UCLA, who was undefeated. Till last night, when USC took them down 71-60. This game was intense, to say intense. Both teams battled. Uh, so the teams both had their off shooting quarters, right? But Ju Watkins came to play, scoring 38 points, 12 of 26 shooting, 11 rebounds, 10 of which were offensive rebounds, 5 assists, and 8 blocks. She outblocked the entire squad of UCLA. UCLA had like 6 blocks for the entire game. Uh, she gave them everything she had, and you can tell she got a little fatigued. She didn't really rest that much for the game, but she gave them everything she had. Right, Lauren Best came in. She had 18 points, 13 rebounds, so she pretty much did what she does, right? Um, this game had everything that you would have want to seen in a basketball game. Uh, each side, UCLA and USC, they both have Kikis, and both Kikis struggled a little bit last night. Uh, they had a rough shooting night. Kiki Rice was 4 of 10 for 15 points. She did give them 6 assists. Kiki she was 4 of 14 for 13 points and 9 rebounds. So both gave their teams something. Whether even though they wasn't having a great shooting night, they still provided something for their teams to succeed. Um, Late in the fourth quarter, is pretty much when Kiki Redfin really showed up, right? With the blocks, the offensive rebounds, her and Juju linking up for a big play that pretty much just set the game off towards the end. Uh, for me, the game was pretty even. It was a lot even than what it should have been. With at one point, UCLA had like 16 turnovers to USC's 8. And the score at that point, UCLA was up. So there was definitely something. USC was not converting those turnovers into points. So I think if that would have happened, the score would have been totally different, right? Um, both both teams had a quarter where they couldn't buy a basket, right? UCLA only scored 9 points in the third quarter. Uh, or USC only scored 9 points in the third quarter. UCLA scored 8 in the fourth quarter, right? So the game was up and down. It was back and forth. We had multiple ties, multiple lead changes in this game, and the stars came out to watch this game because they came out to watch the stars on this court, and these ladies gave them a show. The second and third quarter, you could definitely see some fatigue on the USC side. I think that's what contributed to the slump, right? USC scored 24 points in the first quarter to UCLA's 15, right? But then in the second quarter, USC only scored 14 points, and then after half, they come into the third quarter and they only scored 9, which is definitely not something you want to see from your team after coming back from a halftime that they're only scoring 9 points. So that definitely takes in that fatigue, definitely hit them a little bit harder than maybe what they expected, right? Uh, this game was huge, right? Not because it was the top two teams in the Big Ten, right? It was because USC hasn't beaten a top ranked opponent since like '83. Cheryl Miller was on the squad, right? And obviously in '83 they won the championship. But for you to take down the number one team in the country, and that number one team also happens to be in your same conference, that's huge. And though this is their first meeting of the season, they will be meeting up again. Um, I believe it is in March, the end of March, end of February. So I expect that for that game to be just like this one. Obviously, the next game will be in UCLA's home court. But what these teams showed us is that yes, the SEC is the powerhouse conference, right? But the Big Ten, they have two teams that can put them on notice. If they can play each other like this, they can play any team. And we've all seen that UCLA took down South Carolina at the start of the season, right? And a lot of people thought, oh, that was a fluke, but they continued to be the undefeated team, the only undefeated team until last night. So these teams, both teams have something to prove, not only to themselves, but to everyone who watches women basketball. Um, though I always say that you have to beat the best to be the best. So to see these teams playing these SEC teams is going to be the main event at every opportunity that it is. The coaching for these, but the coaches for both of these teams, they coached, right? They put their team in positions and situations that they knew that they could handle. The players did their part. It was a clean game. The refs, to me, even did their part, right? There was some times where it was scrapping, and you would have thought that they would have called the foul, and they was not. They was letting these women play. They was letting them battle. There was one point where underneath the basket, the ball was just getting knocked around, right? USC would put up a shot and then they miss it. And then they come down, USC would come down with the rebound, put it back up, miss it, and the ball's on the floor and it's passing and the ball's getting stolen. And usually you would have heard a whistle blown. But in the end, eventually the whistle did get blown, but that's going to happen, right? With so many bodies in there, someone goes up to shoot, someone's going to hit someone. Um, but I do applaud that they let these players play this game. They did not take it out of their hands. The shooting slumps for the teams was drastic. They it was drastic, but they continued to battle. And for so many shooting slumps and so many back and forths and the turnovers, the way that this game went, I was very shocked. I enjoyed the game very much. Both teams showed their strengths and their weaknesses in this game. Uh, I do believe that the score would have been more for USC if other players didn't struggle as much as they did. At one point, the only offense was Juju, and that's pretty normal for USC. She is their primary offensive person. But for UCLA, it took them a while to get Betts into her rhythm, right? They were double teaming her, so they was trying to figure out a way to get her the ball with no one around her. Uh, Trying to isolate her that way that they couldn't double team her because she is a great passer from inside out, and she found some of her teammates. Uh, I feel like it took UCLA a lot longer to get into the motion of the game than it did USC. USC came out and just had their foot on the pedal the entire first quarter. To think that she had 38 points in the game and she scored 20 of them in the first half. Uh, she gave them everything she had in that first half, and then that third quarter is when she had her slump as well, and then really came back into the fourth quarter to seal the game. And for a while there, at that 4-minute mark, it was anyone's game. right? It was anyone's game, but then some turnovers from UCLA. Um, it kind of pushed the game back into USC's way, and they did not let it go. Once the clock was hitting 2 minutes, USC put their foot back on the pedal, and they did not stop until the buzzer went off to end the game. Overall, I think that this was an amazing game. This is a game that these are the games that are good for women's basketball to continue to make it grow. To see how many people was at this game, just regular people who love sports, and you have all these famous people who also love sports and are starting to get into the women's game. This is what we've been trying to tell the world. This is women's basketball and has always been women's basketball, right? And I commend these ladies from coming out and showing everyone what this game is about and playing it with everything that they had. And I loved it. 100% loved it. So please continue to support these women playing the game that we all love to watch. Uh, and that's all I have for today. I definitely wanted to come in here and talk about the game last night because it was a game, right? USC is now sitting at the top of the Big Ten, um, and UCLA is no longer the only undefeated team in the league, right? We have no more undefeated teams in the league. Two teams now with only one loss, and a lot of teams with only two losses, and most of those teams are losses to some big teams. So the end of this season is going to be good. So continue to watch. Right? Continue to watch me, support me, uh, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Peace, love, happiness.